I wanted to have a threesome, and then I fell for the person we were having a threesome with. I was like, what the fuck? I think I'm polyamorous. I don't know what to do with this. Philosophically, it made sense. Practically, it was fucking nightmare for me. I had so much insecurity, so much jealousy. I was just navigating a lot of stuff. I was having panic attacks. I did not advocate for myself in the context of that, because I was reading all this literature and listening to all of these podcasts that were available at the time that was saying like how to do poly right and what is not okay and how you have to treat these people. And I was like trying to be like, I'm such a student at heart, I was like, I can do this, you can do this, you want this. And it wasn't that I didn't want it, it was just that I was doing it inauthentically to where I was for my capacity.
But first, a word from our sponsors.
It's the vibrator that has no equal. And now, Motor Bunny offers their thrusting sex machine, the Motor Bunny Buck. Enjoy a fan whore discount at manwhorepod.com/motorbunny or use promo code manwhore at checkout. Now let's get to the show.
Welcome to the Man Whore Podcast.
Shout out to all the slutty singles, poly pockets, monogamous muppets, and bisexual babysitters. This is Billy Procida, and you're listening to the Man Whore Podcast. That was a fun one to do at the end. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. Got a baby update for you. Not an update about having a baby. Although congratulations to my sister. Shout out to Morgan. Gave birth to baby number 2 over the weekend. I now have a niece and a nephew. Now I have 2 living action figures to play with during the holidays. But I have a little update for you regarding Wallet No Lady. AKA, if this doesn't work out, I will throw my hands up and become a relationship anarchist slut monster. We are dating again, but taking it slow this time. As we try again to do this whole open relationship thing the right way for both of us. I've shared before that non-monogamy is new to her and something she's been adjusting to. But I didn't realize how much of an adjustment it is for me to be with someone who is new to non-monogamy. I thought it would just be about, patience while she figures out how she feels and what she needs and, being supportive of her, a lot of her newness being the issue, right? Maybe that was a little unfair of me. On our first date, I assured her, hey, my non-monogamy, it doesn't have to be a free-for-all. And, I say all the time that non-monogamy is about making your own rules. Only now I'm realizing that none of my previous relationships had very many rules. Paige, I don't really remember there being any firm rules going on there. Shay just wanted a text message, on my way to someone's place to get laid. Megan pretty much just said, don't fuck my friends. So I avoided fucking anyone in Jersey City just to be safe. And of course I use condoms with other partners, right? But I've had the privilege or handicap, depending on how you look at it, of getting to do pretty much whatever I wanted, however I wanted. Now that there might be some kind of limitation on my sexual freedom from time to time, it's like any 90s movie where some rich kid gets sent to a public school and is treated just like everybody else. And he's all like, what do you mean I can't make stock trades on my cell phone during history class? I thought this was America. Or, what do you mean silk robes aren't part of this dress code? Okay, Stalin. Like, basically, when it comes to non-monogamy, I've been pretty spoiled. I've been having a lot of conversations lately about poly and E&M, both on mic and off. You'll hear a great one today with my guest, Amanda Katherine Loy, in just a bit. I've also had some off-mic chats with friends and lovers of mine about how they practice. Like this chick I met at Hacienda, her boyfriend is also newer to the lifestyle. I asked her what their rules are, and she just asks him each time, hey, I'm planning to go, not for permission, just like feel him out. Like, hey, I'm planning to go out with so-and-so on Monday. How do you feel about that? Seems simple, but also terrifyingly vague to me. Like, what if he doesn't feel great about it and he doesn't want you to go? What if he doesn't feel great about it like 10 times in a row? And she said that's okay. That's not the case with them, but she said if that happened, she would just, and I know this is going to sound absolutely crazy, but she would just not go on the date. What? Sound the alarms. Bad poly alert. DEFCON whore. I repeat, we are at DEFCON whore. Some slut in Brooklyn is about to not have sex that she wants to have in consideration of her boyfriend's feelings. I don't think it's that I don't want to take someone else's feelings into consideration when deciding if I'm going to fuck this person or go to that glory hole in my personal time. I think it's that I've just never needed to for so long. And now that I'm actually faced with it, I'm having a hard time adjusting. Just like Wallet Note Lady's having a hard time adjusting to a new lifestyle with less restrictions, albeit more naked bodies feeling her up. Amanda and I discussed this on the episode, but some poly people can be pretty militant about how okay people need to be with a partner's sex life and how kitchen table poly is the best version of poly. That your jealousy is your jealousy and you need to figure that out on your own time. None of my past relationships were perfect, but I did have partners who didn't really care that I hooked up with other people. Wallet Note Lady, just like most people in the lifestyle, is experiencing jealousy sometimes when I'm sleeping with other people. It's pretty normal, right? Being jealous is not a sign that this isn't for you. I do think it helps that she's thoroughly enjoying the benefits of this kind of arrangement herself. But, even I get jealous at times when I feel insecure in a relationship. Some would say it's not fair to give her, something you would call veto power. But instead of calling it veto power, I'm thinking of it as consideration. Consideration I do out of love. I was really resistant to anything that could corner me into unintended monogamy. But that's not what's happening right now. That's just anticipatory anxiety. And I think she's worth the leap of faith. Maybe if I'm more flexible, she'll find herself more flexible too. And maybe not. Maybe this all crashes and burns. We all know that my relationships end in threes, two breakups down. But I hope not. I'm in love, whoreheads. Very inconvenient for my slut schedule, but very worth it. There's also an element of I don't know how much longer I'm going to be cute for. I'm turning 33 in June and noticing all sorts of new things to be self-conscious about. Damn, should I start wearing a beanie when I eat pussy? Is that a turn off for chicks to look down at me like that? It's like life is going to restrict my sex life all on its own. Anyways, again, I've got Amanda Katherine Loy on the pod this week. She's the host of the Live Your Fuck Yes Life podcast. She's really big on poly TikTok, really big on bi girl TikTok, and really big on BRCA TikTok. All things we're going to discuss in just a moment. Gosh, it feels good to say this again, but show date singular. We're just getting back into things. But next Thursday, March 31st, I'm going to be at the Tiny Cupboard at 10 p.m. It's a hip venue out here in Bushwick. You could go to thetinycupboard.com if you want to get tickets to that. And folks, we had a great listener question last week about yeast infections and UTIs. Brought in a friend of the pod, Dr. Ina Park, to help out with that one. And, you can always send me your comments, your questions, your criticisms. Hey. Send any and all of that over to manwhorepod@gmail.com. You just might get your advice question answered on the show. Before I get to this week's guest, let's do a quick fan whore appreciation moment, right? Yeah, let's give a thank you to someone who's helping keep the lights on over my head and keeping condoms on my cock. I want to give a big thank you to Robert Everett. Hey man, who you think shot his wad first, Han or Greedo? Which one's got the premature ejaculation problem, buddy? Hey, you big Star Wars nerd. Thank you for supporting the Man Whore Podcast on Patreon. Very much appreciated. Every dollar counts. Big fan of those of you, again, those annual memberships. Those are very nice, very helpful for me. A little discount for you. We all win. And you can become a member today and support the podcast you love by joining my Patreon at patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. That's Patreon, patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. Let's go get to know the host of the Live Your Fuck Yes Life podcast, Amanda Katherine Loy. Motor Bunny has been a long-time sponsor of the Man Whore podcast. Oh gosh, it might be my longest serious committed relationship. Can you have a serious committed relationship with a vibrator? I don't know. I think so. I'm a big fan of the Motor Bunny. This is the most powerful vibrator you'll ever own. It's a vibrator so powerful, you don't lay back and insert it. No, you get on that bad boy and you ride it. Bunny is a ride. Oh my God. I just put that together. Caroline is that's one of Wallet No Lady's like favorites. Bunny is a ride. How have I not put together Bunny is a rider and Motor Bunny till now? What's wrong with me? Something I used to do years back was I would post on Reddit. I'd be like, any ladies want to come over and ride my $1,000 vibrator? Don't be intimidated by the price. They do have payment plans, and I got a discount code. Hang tight. But I would post this. Anyone want to come ride my expensive vibrator? And then I would get like random women would come over just to use this sex toy of mine. And I'm not even trying to backdoor my way into some sex or a blowjob or something. I mean, the only catch is at a minimum, I'm going to watch you use my vibrator. But I mean, how often do you have access to such an amazing toy? One time I had these two women, they're friends and they were going to come over and use it in front of me. And then they were like, hey, actually a friend of ours, can she and her husband come over too? Cause she really wants to use it as well and play with us. But it would, and then me and the husband just literally sat there on chairs and just like really enjoyed the view of these three women fucking each other with my Motor Bunny. What I'm trying to say is when you got a Motor Bunny, new possibilities open up in the world. And you should consider getting one today, whether it's to, post on Reddit for random women that come over, or if, to add to your household, to you and your loved ones' special times together. And Motor Bunny is going to give you a special deal just for the fan whores, $50 off your Motor Bunny when you use promo code MANWHORE or when you visit manwhorepod.com/MotorBunny. This toy is legit. This toy is no fucking joke. Honestly, I don't even know if some of you can handle it. But if you think you got what it takes to take this in the ass or take this in your cunt, get one today. Visit manwhorepod.com/MotorBunny or use promo code MANWHORE at checkout. Now let's get to the show. Thinking this morning, I was like, she says fuck a lot, like more than you expect if you look at her.
Yep. I am so many things that people don't expect when you look at me.
Yeah.
Like pretty much all the things. You're like, oh yeah, you wouldn't think that when you look at this very white girl who looks very like innocent, and nope.
You look very professional, kind, the norm. Dare I say, and I don't want to offend, but normal.
Yeah, that is actually one of the most offensive things you could have said to me. I want us to reclaim the word weird. When I use weird in the context of anybody, it's like the biggest compliment I can give you,
Yeah, I think my college essay was titled "Normalcy is Overrated." So
love that.
I've been on that game for a while. Yeah.
That.
But it was like, oh yeah, it's like, yeah, it's the fuck yeah podcast. Okay. Like that. Sometimes people throw fuck because they're like, that's their version of edgy. It's like, I got one fuck and I'm gonna put it in a title of it. But no, I was like, she says it a lot. I was like,
yeah, I curse I curse more than I don't know, than many people think I should. But I'm like, if you don't like swear words, then you should not be following me because I swear a lot in my day-to-day life. I swear all the time. So.
But Amanda Loy, welcome to the show. Thanks
you
for coming on. And as I was saying off mic, it's like I found you through TikTok when I was experimenting with the platform. I did 30 days. I posted every day, 5 times a day. I got tired.
That's a lot.
Like, no thanks.
Yeah, I would get tired too.
But you are like you're like one of the leading poly influencer people I see pop up on TikTok, and to be able to condense such a complicated, nuanced topic into short videos, like I said, it seems very difficult, and so I'm very impressed by what you're putting out there.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. When did you start putting out poly stuff?
It happened so accidentally. Like, when was it? 2020 maybe. Yeah, 2020. We had a 4-person polycule. It was me, my partner, and my husband and his partner. And we were also in a bubble for quarantine. And so it was like, well, I guess we're spending Thanksgiving together and we'll just make it what it is. And I was like, I've slept with every person around the table. And of course it went viral because people were like coming at me being like, oh, incest, like you've slept with your family members. And I was like, assumptions are being made here that I'm having dinner with my family, but okay. So anyways, that was wild. And then I was getting a lot of questions about polyamory.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, like I'm an open book. I've been talking very publicly about my polyamory journey on my podcast and on my Instagram, but it just wasn't somewhere I was doing it on TikTok. And then I just started answering questions and people were genuinely curious and asking really thoughtful questions, which I was like, yes, nobody talks about this shit. Like, I'm happy to answer these things and I'm happy to talk about that. And it just kind of went from there. So super unexpected and just kind of listened to what people were asking, basically. Yeah.
But like polyamory wasn't like what you were like you're professionally working on at
Absolutely
the time.
not. No, I coach around fear and shame and I really around people pleasers who are struggling with all of the shoulds of life, right? And so sometimes that can attract people who are non-monogamous or queer or whatever, because that's a big part of like being in a box that's not for you.
Yeah, think about like you're trying to like people please like your one partner. Now imagine you're trying to people please 5 partners.
Yep, it's fucking shitty, and I don't know why I ever decided to do this because it's hard. But yeah, I just kind of, I don't know. I've always talked very openly about everything I've navigated since I started, being on social media. And I was a blogger for a while. Back when blogging was trendy, like in like the mid 20, I don't know.
Really aging both of us here with the whole blog thing, because I totally know what a blog is.
Yeah.
Or was. I don't know. Do they have them?
I just like, it's not, I still have mine up. Like they're old now, but my blogging turned to podcasting.
Yeah.
In 2018. And I just was like, actually, I like this form more because I'm an actor first and foremost. And I love to tell stories and I love to just, I don't know, share my voice. And we all need to know that we're not alone. And that's why I do everything I do. So.
Yeah. I want to give my condolences on the breakup. I know I say because I'm also going through breakup same time period.
Yeah.
And, I was listening to you talk about grieving the loss of possibilities, which I connected to because, like, for the first time in my life, I was with somebody who, like, I saw a future.
Yeah, and all the visions you had for where your potential life could go with that person, it also leaves. And the weird thing about being queer and being poly is, like, there's also that, well, we could just de-escalate as friends path that many people operate within. And I've had that to a degree, but sometimes it just doesn't go that way, right? And so there's also the potential for complete loss, even if you're being told that there is the desire for being friends. Sometimes that's not actually possible or true. So thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm sorry you're also navigating that. It's fucking shitty. Do you identify as polyamorous?
My last relationship before this present thing was polyamorous because she had a live-in partner that she had been with like for a couple years before me.
Right.
But before then, I was always hesitant to like really plant the flag and say like, I'm polyamorous. I know I've got the capacity for it. I've just never been in it. And I was like, I feel like it might be similar to someone who like suspects they might be queer, but had not done anything queer yet. Right. So I believe I probably am, but like, I always just kind of default to call myself non-monogamous, but someone calls me poly, I don't correct them.
Sure. And there's so many even versions of what polyamory looks like, because I really see it at the root as a philosophical perspective around how we view love and view relationships, and like not having a hierarchy in terms of even our friendships. Like to me, it's all about just like love is love and relationships are relationships. And like, why do we need to have this ownership model, or whatever?
In theory, I agree with, I understand like the relationship anarchists and like what you're saying about hierarchies of friendships or romantic. I get that. But at the same time, like, I think isn't there a functional difficulty to practice that if a society around you won't?
1,000%, which is why it's constantly hard. It's constantly hard because we live in a compulsory monogamous society where everything is built around the binary, two people, and usually it's two heteronormative people. And so like when you're queer and non-monogamous, you're like fighting against it all. And sometimes that fight is just too hard. Like it can get exhausting. And frankly, like I'm 4 years into this and I often am, and frankly, I've been having this conversation with myself a lot lately. Like, I don't know. Like right now I'm consciously being monogamous because I just can't right now. I don't have the emotional capacity to do this right now. Like it's hard.
When someone says like whether I am or not like polyamorous or non-monogamous, I take that to be more of like who you are in your core.
And for me, it totally is. Yeah.
Right. It's like, so it's like if I need to like not sleep with somebody else for a period of time, that wouldn't make me monogamous. That would just mean I'm agreeing to something that like is not in my nature.
Totally.
Like, because even when like in the poly land, they love hierarchies. They even like, I mean, you know, or classifications. I've seen huge polycules where it's mapped out on a piece of paper and there's like dotted lines and solid lines and squares and circles. Yeah. Who's no condoms together? Who's in the condom contract? Right. All that stuff. Yeah. And so there's a hierarchy and all that. I feel so the people like you who don't believe in the hierarchies, I feel like is like a niche point of view.
Oh, so let me rephrase if that's how it came off. I do believe in hierarchies, and I think that they are very valid and very important. And the people who dismiss them as valid ways of doing relationships and non-monogamy, I think is really problematic. What I just don't think I've ever philosophically understood, even when I was monogamous, is that certain people are inherently more important than other people. Like even when I got married, I didn't see my husband as more important than my best friend or my roommate. Or
has he heard you say that?
Yeah, and we had lots of conversations about those things. And it's not that like I just didn't see that. I couldn't understand that perspective. It did not live inside of my bones, you know, because I was like, these people are all important to me, and they're important to me for very different reasons. And I'm going to protect their hearts because I love them so much, you know? And of course, there are some people who I see more. There are some people who I speak to more. There are some certain people that I go to when I'm having a panic attack that I could never, ever go to with lots of other people. There are certain people that they're my 2 a.m. phone call people, you know? Yeah. There's my emergency contact person. And so maybe you see that as hierarchical, and maybe it is. But at the end of the day, like I didn't understand that like rating system. It just really didn't sit well with me. So yeah, I just had I had a lot of best friends. I didn't understand the whole like best friend. I was like, she's my best friend and they're my best friend and he's my best friend and we're all best friends, you know? So
what do you think is problematic about the people who, you know, discount hierarchies, period?
Well, because it causes people who actually need to have hierarchical dynamics to feel the pressure to not move in that direction and then operate out of integrity with themselves. Like the pressure and shame around so many people who I'm like, no, you have a hierarchical model. You need to have that. When I talk to them in pure sport sessions and they're like, but isn't hierarchy bad? And I'm like, no, it's not bad. It's just needs to be addressed. It needs to be clearly expressed. What's the problem is when people who are in hierarchical dynamics or couples that come from monogamy and live together and are enmeshed in a lot of ways and have kids maybe. And so much of their time needs to be spent together and they only have 1 or 2 days for other people. Yeah. Like that's totally valid, but you just have to be upfront with people when you're then meeting them and say, hey, my capacity is this. This person is going to be my priority. And that doesn't mean that your values and your needs are not really important to me too. But if my kid is sick and like I need to be there, right? You know, if my you know, wife is in the hospital, like I'm going even if we have a date. Like and frankly, like my time is limited. And so you have to be okay with only seeing me once a week.
Yeah, it's about setting expectations. What can I expect from you or not? You know,
right? It's the issue is when people who are really hierarchical don't claim that that's what they are, and so then the people that they're meeting have these expectations that are, well, actually, like eventually we could maybe share the amount of time we have together, and it could be this 50-50 balance, and when that was never true in the first place, right? And so that's where the issue, I believe, comes up. But of course, when there's so much shame that is being like put on a certain way of practicing, people are less likely to feel like it's okay to do that and even try to operate outside of that, when in reality, that's what it is.
And whether that's like, in whether or not you believe in hierarchy, or if it's about even being polyamorous or a slew of things in dating. People talk about poly folks who kind of end up doing it because they feel pressured, as if like poly's bad. I'd be like, this happens all over in relationships, whether it's like who's going to convert to which religion.
Yep.
Are we doing the marriage? Are we having kids, even if maybe we don't want a kid, right? Like all these things, where's the time in your life? Because I know you've also been with your husband for super long time, many mazells, but is there a time in your relationship history where you were agreeing the things you didn't want?
That's a great question.
I usually try to slip one in somewhere.
Yeah, no, just only one.
I like to have one good question.
I don't actually think anyone's asked me this before, so it's I'm glad we're talking about it. Honestly, well, I only met him in college. We've been together for 11 years, but I actually don't think for me that happened until poly. Mm-hmm. Because I did think that I came into polyamory. It was very unexpected. I wanted to have a threesome, and then I fell for the person we were having a threesome with. And I was like, what the fuck? I think I'm polyamorous. I don't know what to do with this. Philosophically, it made sense. Practically, it was fucking nightmare for me. Yeah. And I had so much insecurity, so much jealousy. I was just navigating a lot of stuff. I was having panic attacks. And I did not advocate for myself in the context of that, because I was reading all this literature and listening to all of these podcasts that were available at the time that was saying like how to do poly right and what is not okay and how you have to treat these people. And I was like trying to be like, I'm such a student at heart, I was like, I'm going to get an A+, right? Exactly. Yeah. And so I was like, I can do this. I can do this. You can do this. You want this. And it wasn't that I didn't want it. It was just that I was doing it inauthentically to where I was for my capacity. And so I wasn't then speaking up and saying, hey, like my needs are this and they're not getting met, because I wasn't asking for things. And then once I started asking, it was like, whoa, we've been doing things differently for like a year and a half. Like what's going on? And I was like, well,
they think something's wrong. It's like, no, everything was kind of wrong a little bit.
Really wrong. And I just wasn't seeing anything about it because I was trying to be good.
I've been reading about codependency a bit lately. Might have a problem, and I met up with the ex because we're figuring things out. But one of the things I was like sharing with her was, I finally enacted a boundary after the second breakup. Oh yeah, no, there were 2 dumpings. I'm that special, and so I was like, I enacted a boundary, and I was reading that like when a codependent person who normally doesn't set boundaries finally sets one, it sometimes looks like they're being mean or like not nice or but it's like, no, they're just fine. You just were used to them never doing that. And now they're finally doing what's healthy for themselves. And it can be a little bit of a shock if the always agreeable person finally disagrees. You're like, what the fuck? But actually they might just be finally taking care of themselves.
Yeah. Well, and it can also be really jarring for the person on the receiving end too, because they've attached themselves to the version of you that wasn't setting those boundaries and maybe wasn't being clear about their needs, but that's what they thought your reality was. That's what they thought your truth was. And it was in the moment, right? But there was all this unconscious shit that was happening under the surface that you weren't even aware of. But then it's like once you come into yourself, which is what happens really in your 20s, especially your late 20s, early 30s, in my opinion, and you're starting to practice that, it can be really jarring to the receiving partner because it's like, oh, wait, do I still want this person? Do we have boundaries that actually coexist, or does this mean that this isn't going to work anymore? Because
is the healthy version of the person I love a person I actually can be with?
Right. Because maybe now they're asking for things that are not what you're needing. And so like that can be really hard. I'm experiencing some of that in my own life right now. It's hard like to recalibrate and be like, okay, we maybe weren't our healthiest selves for the longest time of our relationship. Now we feel like we are. And what does this relationship in the context of our healthiest selves look like? Like I don't have the answer to that. It's hard is what my answer is. Like it's shitty and hard and confusing.
What were some of those early nightmares, or like what were some of those things you realized you needed to ask for that were so shocking to the partner?
Yeah. Well, early on in my non-monogamous journey, I was in triads. So I only had, we had 2 triads before I started dating individually. And that was about 2 years into poly for me.
And for triad, like for you, are those like kind of like polyfidelitous things, or is it just more like y'all only dated together a person and that person also did whatever they wanted?
No, the first person, it wasn't. She had an existing partner, and he was also in a couple other relationships. And the second one, it just kind of worked out that way, but she was newer to poly, and I think like we only were together, all 3 of us, for 6 months, and like it's a lot to navigate a relationship with 2 people that you're meeting for the first time. So yeah, but so I think what was hard for that is like there's this, I had the perspective, which is really actually problematic at the time, that like it was basically like my relationship was just fusing with another person instead of like there being these individual things. And I was feeling the loss of moving from monogamy to polyamory. I was frankly feeling what felt like a breakup of the relationship that I had known for 7 years into this new way of operating, and then also being also dating the same person and like whatever, and spending all this time with this other person. And it felt for me, especially with the second triad dynamic, that I had lost my relationship with my husband, that it was just really this triad dynamic now. And like, that was where so much of the time and energy was being spent because we were excited, we were having fun, we were having great threesomes, like whatever. But I was like grieving the loss of my relationship as I knew it. And I didn't know that. I wasn't consciously aware that that's what was happening, but I was feeling it in my body so much. And that came up a lot as like, I'm trying to control the scenario. Like I need to have more time with you. Really, that's just individual. I need certain, like reassurances and special time that feels like it's just us, because we've spent so much time with this other person, and I need that time with just you. And like he was acting in NRE in ways that felt really shitty for me and hurt my feelings a lot. And I was just like, this isn't the person that I married. What's happening? And so it was just a lot of all of that,
Were you nervous, like in those first couple of years of going into poly, that maybe the marriage was going to not survive? Because I'm hearing distress, in the moment back then from you.
I did not feel that way.
Okay.
Back then at all. When you meet somebody, I don't know if you've had this experience or if anyone listening has, but when I met my husband, it was like, oh. And I don't know how to describe it beyond that. Like I get teary thinking about it, because it's just like, I just knew that this person was going to be my life forever.
Yeah.
And that like, I was going to love him so much. Like I just knew. I saw our life. I saw this vision, and it was so beautiful. And like, that doesn't mean that we are not fucked up in our own ways individually and together, because we really are in, some ways. And we've been trying to like move through that and we're in kind of a season of that right now. But no, like I have never, especially early on, I was just like, we're going to figure it out, because we always do. Like we're going to move through this, and we're going to heal, and we're going to stand in the shit storm together and hold hands through it, because that's what we always do. Like my vow to him when we got married, and frankly so early in our relationship, was like, I'm always going to choose you. I'm always going to choose you. Because I believed that, I believed that so deeply. And so I still believe that early on in our poly journey. It didn't ever come across my mind, but I did very much freak out about what that life might look like. And if maybe that was going to move to a life that wasn't really aligned with what I needed. And so that was more what was playing for me, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely. You talk about that meeting someone you're like, I mean, there's a lot of like, I meet someone I know, like, oh, this is a person I want to, I want to date this person. There's a strong chemistry, but then there's another level. And that's what I've been experiencing with this woman who we call her wallet note lady, on the show because jobs but yeah, like that after that first kiss, first date.
Yep.
Like afternoon date, by the way, there's something about
Ugh.
if you have a great afternoon date.
I love a good afternoon date, like walking in the park and getting coffee and just like, or like being like fucking dweebs and like rolling around the hills if it's warm.
Right.
Yeah.
Like if you have a dope first afternoon date and it's like no clothes have come off and you're like still feeling the thing, like, that's real because like this isn't even just like your junk yelling at you. This is like the way I've described the way I felt walking the other way back home. It was like cosmic. I was like, you were talking about like, we got to get through the shitstorm. It's like, you're going to get through it because like you have to. Like there's something higher up
completely
that is going to say that this will work.
Completely.
So y'all will figure it out.
I don't even believe like in God or in like
Same.
that shit, but like I felt that. I was like, we've met in past lives. Like there's no way. Like I just So
what's up, whoreheads? Time for the episode icebreaker. We had so many great responses last week in the episode discussion channel in the champagne room, and we look forward to hearing your response to this one too. Here's the question this week. Are you ready? All right, here we go. How do you reassure your partners you love them? How do you reassure your partners that you are committed to them? Join us in the champagne room today on Discord. Pop in the episode discussion channel. Let us know your answer. Join us today at manwhorepod.com/Discord. Now let's get back to the show. I mean, I'm glad that y'all were able to survive that shitstorm as well as all the others. But yeah, that early shift, because there's the shift of okay, I am going forward in future relationships going to be non-monogamous, but then to say like, no, we who were traditionally monogamous are going to open up. Like those are different journeys to have to go on, because like, it requires one you can just do on your own, and the other one like you really got to coordinate with that person.
Yep, and we really didn't do that.
But what did eventually get you all around? Like, what did it take for things to move smoother?
Yeah, honestly, like in some ways, the pandemic helped with that because we were forced to face things really head on and be together like all the time, which we weren't used to. Like we led people are always really surprised when I say this, but like we led really independent lives for the first like 3, 4, even maybe 5 years of our relationship, like so independent. Like he works 9 to 5 in tech and has always been like in startup world. And like, we're very much just like, I want to like change the world. Cool. Like the Steve Jobs kind of like human, and I'm an actor. And so like I sometimes leave for gigs, or I'm in rehearsals at night. And so our schedules often were like never aligned. So yeah.
It can also look like you're not working, which is what I'm experiencing. Like sometimes she's like, it doesn't seem like, are you, I don't know. It doesn't feel like you do. I was like, yo, you have no idea. Like when you see me not doing anything, I'm actually doing everything up here.
Yeah. But yeah, so we led very, and we've always had like separate friend groups. Well, that sometimes intermingle, but like we just have like really strong individual friendships that are not, necessarily together. So yeah. What was I feel like I got back to this, but I can't remember what your original question was now.
Well, originally it was, you were the first couple years of poly for y'all two and whoever else involved were tough. And then it sounds like
where we are now. Yeah.
Yeah. And you were saying in the pandemic, you're really kind of forced to face that stuff.
Well, we were like very, very close to one another. It was wild and hard on that level, I will say, for us for sure. Cause I was like, oh wow, like we're spending so much time together now and have absolutely no independence other than going for walks. But it forced us to face a lot of the like shadow side of our relationship and a lot of the patterns that had been happening in the early years. And we started seeing a couples counselor and just like really decided to like actually take action in those things and listen to each other in a different way. We also both were finally in individual therapy, which helped us also unpack our own past traumas and be able to actually express those. So I think there was a level of understanding and empathy and clarity around those things that for a while, like led to being poly being really chill for both of us. It was like, oh, like I feel secure in us now. Like we've really done this work and whatnot. And so I'm in a personal season of like not feeling super secure, but
Sorry, you cut up. It was you are feeling that present.
we were.
Okay.
I'm in a personal season of not feeling super secure, and that's probably been the last few months.
That's understandable with the
actually,
development.
It wasn't because of the breakup. Interestingly,
Huh.
I've just been in a season of like depression for the first time in my life. I had never experienced it before. And December of last year, I went through a really, really gnarly bout of it. And I've just been unpacking some old wounds and deep, deep traumas of my life and watching some of that play out in certain elements of my life now, which unfortunately are tied to poly, where I'm getting triggered a lot by things that are deeply connected to like my worst moments of triggered past.
Yeah.
And navigating through that has been really fucking hard. So I'm not feeling hella secure right now. I know he is feeling better than he's ever felt, which is also interesting and hard to navigate. But I would say like for a year and a half, it was just like, it really felt like smooth sailing, to be honest.
What have you been asking from him in reaction to, like, as an adjustment to where you are now, if anything?
Yeah.
Like, do you ask him to go on dates less or to swipe less or whatever?
Yeah. Well, he's not on apps right now. Has a relationship that is actually one of my exes when we were in a triad together.
Okay.
And they've been together for 2.5 years, I think, something like that. And then he's in a newer relationship with someone who also was originally dating me and then broke up with me. So the pattern is really fun.
Wow.
Let me tell you.
Wait, were those are triad breaks and then later he comes back, or it was more like the triad, it's more like I'm going to break up with you, but I'm going to stay with you?
So the original one was an established triad, and we've talked about this actually in tandem on my podcast at length, but the original one was an established triad. She ended things with me but wanted to stay with him.
Oh my, and how the fuck did you feel about that?
It was really hard. It was really hard. Part of why when I wasn't advocating for myself existed during that time. And
even me, Mr. Slut Boy, goes like, that sounds fucking, I don't know.
Yep. And it's still hard. So I don't know. So that was the first time that happened. The most recent one was we were not an established triad at all. And it was not really even potentially even moving in that direction. This person was just interested in dating both of us. And we had gone on a few dates. And then she was like,
escalated with one and not the other.
Yeah.
Is that? Have you heard of that often happening in poly?
I don't know. I guess I'm really lucky.
Well, you know, when so many people follow you to, in part at least, but I think at least on the TikToks, it's, a huge part, a good chunk of it is because of the poly conversations and videos you do. It thrusts you into a position of authority, whether or not you feel like an authority. Do you feel like an authority on polyamory?
Absolutely not. I hate the word expert.
Yeah.
It really fucking even in my whole coaching career, I facilitate spaces and tell stories to help other people feel illuminated in their own truth. Mm-hmm. That is why I do anything I do. And frankly, I kind of think anyone who frames themselves as an expert around polyamory, or really fucking anything, to be quite honest, unless you have a PhD and have gone through years and years and years and years and years and years of study and done all these research data shit. Nobody is the only thing you're an expert on is your own life and your own experience and your own perspective and your own traumas and whatever. So you can speak beautifully about those things. And if someone can gain something about themselves through that, amazing. Right. But no, I'm not an expert. I just share really fucking authentically and honestly from my heart. And that's all I ever know how to do. And yeah, do I have certifications and other things that have led to my coaching career? 100%. It's why I coach and I love that. But no, fuck no, I'm not a polyamory expert. And please do never, ever look at somebody who is in that space, someone like me, and be like, I'm going to take their word and what they're saying as like, that's what I have to do. I even caveat that on a lot of my videos. Like, take this with a grain of salt, like, take what works, leave the rest. Like, this is just my story.
Sure.
Because a lot of people speak like, this is the right way to do something. And I fucking hate it.
Sure. Agree or disagree is fine. But, I feel like the Multiamory crew, like Dedeker, Winston and them, like I think they towed the line pretty well on that.
I agree.
Me, like I also like to not take responsibility for expertise. I just remind people I'm a comedian with a fuck show. Let's keep it there. If I accidentally do something better than that, that's great. But let's keep the bar nice and low. I enjoy tripping over it every day. Yeah, no,
I love their show. And I think they even say that, like, we're not experts.
Right.
We're not I mean, Dedeker is a coach like I am, but it's like, no, we're not.
Well, Dedeker wrote a book or two. It's like at that point, well, there's a tier when you publish a book,
I don't know. Anyone can publish a book these days. Like, I love her. I think she's amazing. I take everything she has to say, and like, really, it often lands so beautifully with me. But like, I also am a book writer. I'm in the middle of writing my next book, and I still don't consider myself an expert just because I have published work. Like, at the end of the day, we're just sharing our own experiences, sharing the things that we do have education around, which is important. But yeah, like, I don't know. I love them. I think they do a great job with it all.
So one of the joys of poly is being able to like explore things you might not have been able to explore within a monogamous setting. And for you, one of those things was realizing you're bisexual, and then being able to go out and explore that. What was it like to finally go like on a date with a woman, after all these years with your husband?
It was so exciting. It was like, it really felt like this liberation of, oh, wow, like, this is who I have always been. And to be able to experience it in real time, it's just like, I love women. Holy fuck. Like, they're just so amazing. And to be able to show that in all the ways that I want to, and have the opportunity to do that and be so celebrated in that by the person that I've been with for 11 years, like, that just, it felt so and feels so amazing,
What was the first date? How'd you meet her? Where'd y'all go?
Well, this was a triad
triad
dynamic. Okay. Yeah.
Was that part of the agreement in the beginning where like, we're going to just date together?
Well, it wasn't even dating. It was like, we're going to maybe have a friends with benefits situation. Like, it was really like, we got set up with this woman because a mutual friend of Kevin's, who is Poly, knew her and was like, she's looking for like a threesome situation that lives close. You guys live close to each other. Like, yeah, like, it could work, she's fun. I like her. I haven't slept with her, but I like her, and so we were like, okay, like, let's connect and see if like there's chemistry. Cause I'm, very much a demisexual. Like, I can't just sleep with somebody that I don't know or sleep with somebody that I don't feel like trust or safety with. So we reached out and we started talking over text and decided to meet up and have dinner. And it was exciting. But I think, it's so interesting because like a lot of people come to me and be like, weren't you so scared the first time you went on a date with a woman? And I was like, well, my situation was a little bit different because I was also there with my husband.
Yeah, you get to hold his hand and give it a squeeze if you're scared.
Well, there's that secure base of like, I feel comfortable here. And if this doesn't go well, like I just leave and you're here with me. And, it didn't feel, scary. It was just more like, this is wild and exciting and I'm nervous, but in like the best way. Yeah, I thought I was going to be more chill. I was not chill. I was like the farthest thing from chill.
How were you not chill?
I was stammering all over myself. Like, I was just like, I ordered. Okay, so I don't think I've ever told this story, but we were at this restaurant that I've been to before, and somehow like I ordered like 3 entrees. Like, I was like, this looks good.
For yourself?
For myself. Yeah. I was like,
Amanda.
I ended up with this giant sandwich and fries and like half a chicken and like this whole thing of coleslaw. And I was like,
and what do y'all want?
Yeah, honestly. And they were looking at me like, I think they were looking at me while I was ordering, like, is she really? And I think the woman was just like, all right, go for it. Like, have fun, And then I showed up and I was like, oh, I didn't think that's what I ordered, And they just both started laughing so hard. And I was like, I was fucking around all over my, but then like the second date, I was like, we were hanging out and having dinner at her place and drinking wine. And I was just like, at one point I just looked at her and I was like, are we going to do this? Like, are we going to do this? Like, do you want to do this? And she was like, yeah. My husband was like, okay. So I was like, I just can't hold it in anymore. Like, can we just do it?
Can I fucking kiss you? Like, I'm in. What's going on?
Yeah, like, I don't know how to start this, but like, we're going, if you're down and consent is happening. And like, we all like talked about like, if anyone's uncomfortable, just say like, stop, and we'll stop. And it did not happen that way. We were all great. So yeah, it was, anyways, I was, yeah.
Did y'all do the we're going to go on the date to see if we want to have a threesome on another night? Or was it like, if this goes well, we will go home after the big three entree dinner?
Yeah, we didn't talk about like expectations at all. It really, dinner was like to get to know each other.
Sure.
And it was clear that like that was what it was. And then we were all like, we should hang out again. This was really fun. And so that's kind of where I was like, how we feeling? Yeah. Gauge the room. You know.
What do you recommend to people who to couples who are new to non-monogamy and maybe they're just starting off with, well, we'd like to have a threesome. Like, what do you recommend a couple does to find a threesome?
Yeah, I wish I had a great answer to this, because there's not really a great way to do it, because so often on dating apps, like, couples are seen as really predatory, and you can come across as unethical unicorn hunters, and there's all of that stuff, you know? So I think the best way is when it happens organically and you just kind of meet people who you're like, I'm open to this. And I think the more you talk about your value system with your friends and sort of see like, are people aligned with this too? Like, you know, those are the ones where I've witnessed the most thoughtful approaches and like ones that actually seem to work the best.
But when we live in like nice liberal populated cities, that can be a lot easier. So there just going to be some people who by circumstance have to do it via an app thing. So I'll kind of flip the question a bit in that, are there tips for ways to not be that predatory, shitty couple who's not giving a shit about the human being third?
Totally. I think for one, make sure that you're both on if you have a text thread going, like that you're both on that, you know, and having equal dialogue with the person to get to know them, that you genuinely are interested in getting to know them because they're a fucking person and not to be treated like a piece of meat to like save your fucking marriage. Like, roll eyes so big. You know, I think asking the person like, what's important to you in this dynamic, you know, and genuinely wanting to know what they want. And then being also clear if you have any established rules, if you have any established agreements within your dynamic that the other person needs to know about, like uses of condoms or, you know, it's not cool. I'm not cool with, you know, my husband coming on you, but like he can do that on me. Are you comfortable with that? Or, you know, I'm not okay with him doing anything but, you know, penetrative sex with you, like that's like vaginal. It can't be like anal. Like, I'm not cool with that. I don't want to see that. I don't want to be around that. Are you cool with that? Maybe you're really into anal and like you want that shit, whatever, you know? So like
literally having that conversation for a threesome on Sunday. She's really into anal and it would be heartbreaking if I'm not.
I mean, but those are important things, you know? And so having those dialogues is huge. It's hugely important because you want to, obviously, like, you never know how things are going to go. And maybe there's going to be something that you haven't faced, but at least you can go in then with some parallel expectations to how the circumstances might go. And you're not then like in a scenario that you feel tricked by later.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What's, you know, again, as not an expert, but a polyamorous influencer. Are you comfortable with influencer?
We all are influencers at this point. Like, let's be honest.
Yes, even Cheryl in the book club. She's an influencer to 12 people in town, but she is an influence in town.
Exactly.
If you want your zoning thing passed at city council, like, you gotta talk to Cheryl. Yep. She's got her fingers on the pulse. Do you have a controversial opinion about poly? Like, do you have a hot take of your own that
Oh my God,
others do not
I have
agree
so
with?
many.
Oh my God. Yes, please spill it
I
all
mean,
over the place.
I think my thing about like hierarchical polyamory is just as valid is for many people a hot take. I also think like I personally believe that if you're especially if you're coming from a monogamous dynamic with two people and moving into non-monogamy, I think it's completely valid to decide to close your relationship if that relationship is really struggling. Like I do. And I know that can cause a lot of pain and heartbreak, but I think you have to be upfront about the potential of that being real, you know? But like, yeah, like I think that that's just, if you care enough about a dynamic, you do the things you need to do to fight for them. And a lot of people will think I'm fucking awful for saying that, but that's truly how I feel.
But that's you said you put the caveat of like if we're coming from a monogamous thing to opening, closing's cool. But what do you feel about someone who's clearly non-monogamous from the beginning, and then someone trying it and then wanting to close? Does the person who is a non-monogamous person close, or do they say like I am this person?
Yeah, no, I think that's a different situation. I think it's a different scenario. So, yeah, I mean, if you're upfront from the get-go, like this is who I am, period, end of story, like cool. I do also think that sometimes, like I know a lot of people who are non-monogamous who get into, there's like so many varying levels of polyamory, right? And it's like some people
It's
feel it in their
truly
bones. They
customizable.
can't not do it, but it's like relationships require, at the end of the day, secure foundations to thrive. They just do. And certain people have different needs when it comes to what that looks like. And if you're both meeting each other for the first time, you don't have a secure foundation. You have to build that. And it can take time, and it can take not having external factors that cause a lot of additional insecurity to be able to build that. So I know a lot of people who identify as non-monogamous or polyamorous who are totally happy to go into a new relationship and say, we're going to be monogamous for a year. We're going to check in at a year, see how we're doing so that we have a foundation, and then we can open up our relationship and expand and still have the life that we know we need at the end of the day.
I truly sorry, keep going.
I was just going to say, I think as long as the expectation of like, we have a cutoff time where we're going to check in, and also we understand that this is important for us to explore down the line, and there's not like a veto power ability to say like, this isn't okay actually for me in the end of the day. Like that, I think that's important.
So like, having some committed time to like work on the safety and security, but like, this is going to happen in some form, shape, or fashion in the future.
Right.
But I'm willing to like have committed time doing this just to build.
I don't think that's an unreasonable ask at all. I actually think it's a really healthy choice because everyone has different needs when it comes to relationships. And some people don't need that. Some people are so secure in themselves that like, cool. But a lot of people do.
Yeah.
This kind of conversation does not happen in the polyamorous space. It's unfortunately, I love so many people that are poly. Like there's some great people out there, but people see things in a really black and white way when it comes to these dynamics. It's like it has to look this way or it can't look this way. When in reality, like that's just not how we are as people. We live in the gray. There's way more nuance to our needs and to our personalities and to ourselves. And there are a lot of people like you and I who are flexible in our practices. Like, I don't believe that what I want to do right now is going to be true in a year. And
that was the whole point of non-monogamy, is that it's supposed to be literally that you got monogamy is a fixed point. There is literally only one way to do it.
Right.
Not you. Do you have an annual threesome on your anniversary? Grace, you're also not monogamous, right? Like it's fixed point. Then everything else to infinity is the possibilities. And it's whatever you 2 or 12 people want that possibility to look like. And it's always able to be in flux. What I love about non-monogamy is that, like, ideally, you can always come to each other to propose something, and someone can always say no, thank you, and that shouldn't be terrible. It shouldn't be bad to ask, and if it's okay to hear a no, and I'm usually okay hearing a no, so it shouldn't be threatening to ask. However, in monogamy, at that fixed point, even to ask is seen as this huge affront. To have a threesome, to open it up, to have a one-time
thing.
thing.
Someone as attractive
and
to say that, it's like I didn't never understood. Like we had these conversations all through monogamy. So I was like, this is not normal, people. But yeah, like I get it. Like some people that's what works for them. Cool. But yeah, I agree with you. And I think that's actually like a really big pitfall of how a lot of people portray polyamory. A lot of influencers, people who speak very openly about it and have a big platform. It's very much like, it's very binary. It's like, this is the way it has to be done. And it's less of a choose your own adventure, right? Because people have been hurt because of certain circumstances or whatever. And it's like, okay, fine. Like, I think the common goal here is just fucking be transparent. Just say what you're wanting. Let people know when that's changing. And like, you know, hopefully you're going to find partners who care enough about your feelings and who want to protect your heart as much as they protect their own to, you know, move through that with you, you know, and maybe they won't at a certain time. And then maybe they're no longer the partner for you, you know, like that's just the way I see it.
I'm glad to hear someone else rolls their eyes a bit at the Polyland discourse from time to time. Because gosh, you know, there's also a communal, it's kind of like a groupthink atmosphere at times too. You know, it's hard to
100% that way. It's very problematic in my opinion.
Right. Like the relationship anarchists, they won't even have the same discourse as the general polyland because they're like, well, ours is so different. So we're not going to be with you and engage in difference. We're just going to be our whole own subset. You know, I call them the poly pockets, you know, they're poly people to go to poly events. They talk about being poly and that's it. And they also always agree on all the things. And like, that's so boring. Like, why can't we disagree about stuff?
I agree. Well, that's what makes us human. That's what makes us not in a cult is when we have thoughts and opinions that are our own and we choose to stand behind them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's you know, it's wild that people will say like, you know, there's only one way. I think there's a lot of ways. I think there's truly infinite ways to do it.
Agreed.
What do you love about polyamory?
I think that if people have the courage, it's a really beautiful way to very quickly unpack your own shadows and understand yourself in a really deep way. And I love that growth work. Like I'm a fucking sucker for that shit. Like my goal is to just keep understanding myself better throughout the rest of my life, you know, and polyamory is a really beautiful path to that if it fits for you. You know, I also love that it is centered around just love, you know, like this having love for multiple folks and that there is no one way to do things. Like I lived in a box my whole life and I fucking couldn't do it anymore. And polyamory has given me the flexibility and the freedom to build my relationships in the ways that feel most right. And to look at each one on an individual level and say like, what do I want here? And does that align with what this person wants? And you know, like none of my relationships have looked the same. And that's so cool, right? It doesn't have to follow this random trajectory that we've been taught by society is like the way to have a successful relationship. I love that. So yeah. And I also, I've been living away from my core family, like my blood family for so long. And when polyamory works and everyone is dope ass humans and you got like, at least I have a preference for kitchen table polyamory. It's just so much, it feels like a family. You really do. And it's like, I have like a comet partner who's really more like a best friend, sometimes friends with benefits. We were partners for a time and it's kind of evolved and I don't really like to label it, but like he and my husband have become such close friends. And it's just the way when we are together, the three of us, it's the most family I have ever felt, like not being with my family, you know? And there's just something about that I don't know how to put into words. If it's just a feeling that feels so like home, you know?
That's dope. Do you happen to have an extra and it's okay if not, do you have like an extra 10, 15 minutes for a little bonus episode?
Yeah, let's do it.
I was thinking maybe we'd talk a bit about the BRCA because one, I don't know what those letters stand for, but I know they have to do with chopping off your tits. And I know
it.
that's something that people can relate to. So Patreon folks, you'll hear that tomorrow. But for now, Amanda, where can people go to find you and take in your work and watch you do the dance with the little captions popping up?
Yeah, it's everywhere. It's Amanda Katherine Loy. It's just my name. Katherine's with a K. That's on TikTok, Instagram, also my website. If you want to book a pure sports session, I do pure sports sessions for anything non-monogamy related, anything coming out later in life, and also around BRCA and cutting off my tits, like you said. So yeah, you can check that out on my website. I'm not currently running my group programs at the School of Fears, Feels, and Fucks, which is where I wear my coaching hat.
The group of what?
It's called the School of Fears, Feels, and Fucks.
Love that.
Yeah, it's my it's usually my like 9 to 12 week programs. Sometimes it varies.
You just put the word fuck in like everything you have professionally?
I mean, it's my brand. Live your fuck yes life, right? So
why I'm surprised the handle isn't Amanda fucking Loy.
Honestly, my Twitter handle is Amanda MF Loy, but I'm never on Twitter. So yeah, it's been my handle for as long as I can remember. So I just was like, all right, we're keeping it. But yeah. And then you can listen to my podcast at Live Your Fuck Yes Life. The U in the fuck is starred because Apple Podcasts, it's a bitch. But you can check that out on, iTunes, Spotify, or any podcast app. And I think that's everything.
Fantastic. Everyone go check that stuff out. I know I'm a fan of following her on online and, whether it's Instagram Reels, TikTok, whatever. No, she's great. She's doing good stuff. Thanks again, Patreon folks. We'll see you tomorrow. And Amanda, why don't you go ahead and say goodbye to everybody?
Thank you so much for having me. And bye, everyone.
Oh, she was so much fun. I love talking to people who say fuck just as much as I do. Makes it all so much more fun. Thank you again to Amanda Katherine Loy for joining us. I know I had a blast. Also had a blast on our Patreon bonus episode, which you can gain access to tomorrow at patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. That's Patreon, patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. Many of your favorite Man Whore Podcast guests have bonus episodes up in there. Nina Hartley, Venus Cuckoldress, Rachel Steele, and more. So, you get access. I think I got over 200 bonus episodes over there. That is an insane amount of bonus content. And the best part about the bonus episodes, I'm sure many of you will find, is no monologue. Really, it's about a minute intro, and boom, we're into the interview. I still can't tell if y'all like the monologues or not, but you know what? We've been doing it for this long. Why stop now? I would love to know about your thought about this week's episode. Join us in the episode discussion channel in the Champagne Room. Let us know what you thought. Let us know your answer to the episode icebreaker. For you shy folks who don't know how to start the conversation, don't worry. I'll do it for you. Introduce yourself today at manwhorepod.com/Discord. Want to share your comments directly with me? Got a problem you need some advice on? You can always shoot me an email directly at manwhorepod@gmail.com. This is new. I didn't realize this until recently. Spotify now has podcast ratings. Did you know this? I didn't know this. I don't know when they started doing it, but I just saw it this week. So if you could do me a favor, do me a solid. If you're listening to the show on Spotify right now, just real quickly, tap on over to the podcast page. Give me 5 stars. Look, I know you got options 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars, but come on, if you're already tapping over there, do a whore a solid. Give me all 5 of the stars. And even if you don't listen to the Man Whore Podcast on Spotify, but you have Spotify, you can. It's okay. Just head on over to the Man Whore Podcast page on Spotify. Give me 5 stars. Come on, folks. Help me out. Consider it an 8-year podiversary gift. Much appreciated. And if you want to battle sex negativity in our society, doing it in a way that totally serves me, share the Man Whore Podcast on Main. Yes, on Main. Hey, if it's socially acceptable for your friends and family to post racist Trump shit and vaccine misinformation, I think you can get away with sharing a podcast about dating, love, and a little bit of sex. You think the people in your life don't want this type of content, but they do. They're just not going to say it out loud. You're doing them a favor, and you're kind of doing me one too. All right, everybody. I hope you all have a great week, great weekend. hoping you're getting stuffed by whoever you wish would fucking stuff you. I hope they're spitting on you. I hope they're doing whatever is the thing you want them to do. I hope you're getting that in droves. Do I know the measurement of a drove? No, I do not, but it sounds like a lot. All right, folks, stay slutty. Are you looking to start a podcast? Want to use audio as a marketing tool for your small business? Enjoy free credits when you use my promo code Billy at Libsyn.com. That's Libsyn, Libsyn.com, or click the link in the show notes.